pure relaxation.
The natural way to look beautiful. The beautiful way to look natural par excellence.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
The thing about comparing rates at Progressive.com is that by now you've heard a lot of ads about comparing rates at Progressive.com. We probably don't even need the words comparing rates anymore to remind you that seasoning steaks at Progressive.com is an easy way to save on car insurance, or that swimming in trousers helps you find the lowest rate. And that's the thing about foraging for truffles. You've heard a lot of ads about standing tiptoe on a cinder block. Compare rates and sing softly to a wounded field mouse and save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations.
The Force will be with you, always.
May the Force be with you.
Hey, Luke.
May the Force be with you.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
May the Force be with you.
Imperial or Rebel, Jedi or Sith. Happy Star Wars Day from Sports Radio 810, WHB.
Kansas City's hometown sports station. Sports Radio 810, WHB, Kansas City.
Hey Kansas City, this is Nate Bucati, announcer for Sporting KC. I'm teaming up with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City to recognize administrators, teachers, and students who make our community a better place to live, work, and play. Each Blue KC Sporting Samaritan will be recognized at a Sporting KC home match, receive tickets to the match, Sporting KC merchandise, and more. To learn more about the program and nominate your Blue KC Sporting Samaritan, just go to sportingkc.com/BlueKC.
Isn't this a sports show?
Read it one more time. What is it?
Let me click on it so I can get the full thing.
Yeah, what's the product description?
Okay, here we go. Push Pops Bubble Fidget Sensory Toys. Oh, well, come on. Okay, here we go. Start over.
Yeah, one breath, please. One breath.
Almost entirely.
Push Pops Bubble Fidget Sensory Toys. Funny relief, stress, desktop game, soft squeeze toy, logical reasoning, training toys for adults, children, Among Us, Blue.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Here we go. Sweetum Signatures, magnetic fingering, magnetic ring fidget spinner, toy upgraded hand spinner for stress relief, Christmas and birthday gift for kids, friends, and family.
Magnetic what?
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
For $50, you can get a dinosaur electric train set with remote control, smoke LED lights, sound, dinosaur world playset, dinosaur track.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We're going to get to a whole bunch more of the NFL draft stuff that we never fully landed the plane on yesterday because we always get to the audio later. We're going to have an hour with our friend Seth Keysor of The Athletic and the Chief in the North newsletter. We'll talk to him coming up in about an hour. We will have a look around some of the news of the NFL day today, which many of them include, many of the bits of news that I've seen most recently include former members of the Kansas City Chiefs. Also, I suppose we can wish everybody a happy May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I
don't get it.
I wore my Star Wars hat today because I'm festive. I haven't heard this yet. But Rudy said that we're running a Star Wars Day like ad like we would run during Christmas or we would run 810 wish you Merry Christmas, 810 wish you a Happy Thanksgiving or whatever. In fact, Rudy, I'm asking you to do yet another thing, and I'll explain that you may not remember, but Rudy is on the other side of the glass today, not in the studio with me. Beards is gone, not just on vacation. We're taking some days off to move. Expect to have him back on Friday. But if you want to pull up that ad at one point, I wouldn't mind playing that in a way that it would make it into the podcast over the air, we could hear it and everything. But I generally speaking, am a festive. I don't know if I'm a festive person. I will always entertain a little festivity. I like a reason to wear a specific hat on a specific day, right? I'll wear a Santa hat around Christmas. I'll find something to get a little excitable about around the Star Wars day. I'm totally here for that. I have seen that ESPN is running a baseball game and Tim Kirkshin's wearing a Yoda mask. And I feel like that might be working a little too hard. But, that's why today you just wear the Rebel hat with the orange mesh and the fluffy material in the front or whatever.
Now, is this the same thing as like a William Shatner? Is that what this is?
No, William Shatner was, he was in the original Star Wars trilogy.
Got it.
Yeah, that's the, the hand thing. You make like the V and you put the thumb there. That's may the fourth be with you. It's because you split your hand into fourths. And then bring them together.
Was he Logan Skywalker's father?
No, so it's crazy. He's actually Logan Skywalker's daughter. They're way ahead of and there's something about an emperor. I'm a very old man. Some things I don't want to think about very hard. I just watch Star Wars for the Ewoks and the Porgs, That's what I'm really there for. All that hyperspace and the guy with the pointy ears and everything. Set phasers to whatever, I don't really care. I'm just there for the Ewoks and the Porgs and maybe a lightsaber every once in a while.
I like the wands.
They are great. Although I'll tell you what, I don't like that spooky bad man with no nose, is the bald guy with the wand. I don't like him very much. Scared me. But when they destroy the ring at the end, tearjerker, man.
Oh boy.
They finally throw the ring in the volcano. Love Star Wars. Sometimes people get really angry at me for the things I say on the radio. And sometimes it's like a serious, societal thing that I'm tiptoeing around, and somebody who's not very well adjusted gets really angry for no good reason. And sometimes I'm lukewarm on Nick Bolton, and somebody gets really mad at me. I'm excited for Star Wars guy to really come in with torches and pitchforks.
There's a couple groups of people, fan bases, who we made very mad.
Well, you know what I tell them in the spirit of Star Wars? You shall not pass! That's Star Wars, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then afterwards,
Dumbledore says that.
I was gonna say, then afterwards, the hat makes him an elf.
And then the sock sets Dobby free. Dobby's an Ewok, right?
Of course.
The only redeeming factor of this bit is that we've clearly grabbed so many specific references that you've got to know it's a bit, right?
I hope so.
Also, it's the new Disney Plus series. It's called The Bad Bunch.
I think it's The Good Group. Yes, it's either The Bad Bunch or The Bad Batch, but Bunch sounds better.
Here's the thing.
Makes more sense.
Is I've been trying not to use the other word that it sounds very much like it's supposed to be. That is a sort of an unpleasant word.
Bad Batch.
The Bad Batch.
Yeah.
I like that's better than The Bad Bunch. The Bad Bunch sounds like an 80s movie.
Like the Brady Bunch gone wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the upside down world of the Brady Bunch.
I might give The Bad Batch a fair shake because I watched some of the Clone Wars animated series back in the day. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Clone Wars.
And Mandalorian was so good.
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't watched Mandalorian?
I have not.
Really?
I haven't.
Huh.
Is that the show about where like a group of people, they're kind of like separate and they're all fighting for this throne made of steel?
No, that's the Hunger Games. Anyway, when you watch The Mandalorian.
Over under 1.5 dragons.
I think under. What's the name of that thing from Dune?
What is it? Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Man,
oh,
it's the last. It's the last reference I want to make.
So bad and so good.
It sounds like Krav Maga, but it's not. It's the Gom Jabbar, I think. Hold on. We're gonna get. Is that? That is from Dune,
Timothy
right?
Chalamet.
No. You're gonna be really surprised in season 2 of The Mandalorian whenever the Gom Jabbar shows up.
Oh boy, it's Timothy Chalamet.
That's the poison. That's the poison needle from Dune. I don't know. I'm
not sure how he became famous.
Did that Dune movie actually? Is that out?
I don't think so. I don't think it's quite out yet. I think it should be out soon. But I don't think it's quite out. I bought the book because the movie looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think I had seen maybe a little bit of the original. I actually don't know Dune very well. The cast on it is bonkers.
October 1st, 2021.
All right. I'll give it a shot. I think that sounds fun. Ice Pyro on Twitch.
It's a great cast.
Ice Pyro on Twitch is in the Wheel of Time keeps turning.
That's another good one.
S Wallaby on Twitch, who I don't think I recognize the Twitch username, says, I hate the debate of watching live so I can interact or waiting for the podcast so I'm less miserable at work. Truly some of the tougher debates of our time, S_Wallaby. Thank you for being here today. My suggestion, watch live and interact with the show. Listen to the podcast at work.
There's a bunch of Easter eggs that you're going to miss along the way.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. My issue right now is that I actually never really did get into Star Trek, and so I'm having a hard time pulling more references.
So it stars this captain, Peter Cottontail. He hops along the intergalactic trail.
That's the movie that just surpassed whatever that black and white movie was for the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes ever, right?
That James Cameron made them re-air years and years and years in theaters because he wanted to be the #1 movie ever. Yeah.
Yeah, Paddington 2.
Yeah.
James Cameron's Paddington 2. I was really they let him direct the sequel because he had nothing to do with the first one, but
weirdly enough, a third one is scheduled for, October of the year 2029.
2,000 years from now. Yeah, that's very good. What I thought was going to be the opening bit for this, other than us just ruining some people's day today.
Us?
Because this show today has made some people's hearts colder than the ice planet Tatooine.
Is that where Mad Mikkelsen lives?
Yes.
I like Mads.
I'm so worried about this bit that I want to go back and correct everything and just tell people that I confirm to people that I do know Star Wars. Because I don't think I can take the Twitter.
Yeah, there's a guy with the long ears.
Yeah.
His name is like Spock or something.
Yeah, you have my sword, that guy. You have my bow. That's the pointy ear guy. Yeah, Spock. The bit that I thought we were going to do here hold on. All right. Well, I'm going to take a couple of Twitch comments right now because Twitch has done some very good things in the last couple of seconds. I got another thing to bring up, and then we got some news, and we got some questions to answer. One of which is from Z-Man. Did Brisco ever get to the audio last night? No, we're going to get to some of the audio today. We'll get to more of it tomorrow. We're going to spread it out, like a good dessert. We're going to have some audio, little different places over the course of the week. Got leftovers, right? Then from Caden Gets the Show, which is a pretty good username, formerly Literally Gaming, changed his username. Said, random question. I run a liquor store. How often do you guys go to a liquor store and not buy anything? It happens all the time at my store, and I don't understand it. Had a guy earlier walk around for 15 minutes and leave without buying anything. I don't think I've ever gone into a liquor store and not bought anything.
Literally never. If I go into a liquor store, there's a reason.
Yeah.
It's not like I went into Walmart to see what, was in stock, and I was just curious. You go to a liquor store because you want liquor.
Well, and so sometimes I'll go in and not know specifically what I want.
For sure.
I went across the street a couple of weekends ago, and I just went to the local section to look at whatever boulevard they had in stock, right?
You knew you wanted something to drink. You didn't know what necessarily. You knew you wanted something.
I wanted a bubbly thing in cans. I went to just try some different boulevard stuff I hadn't had yet. But I ended up leaving with two that I'd never heard of before, and what I had in mind, and something else. That's great. Or if I'm gonna go get whatever, a thing of Captain Morgan, I'm gonna get that. And even if you don't have in stock what I went for, I'm gonna just take the closest replacement.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go to
Captain
the next.
Spock.
I'll take Captain Spock. Like that's. I don't think that I've ever done that.
Yeah, the only time I personally have probably ever been in a liquor store and I personally didn't buy something was because I was with somebody who bought it instead. Like if I did not physically purchase something in a liquor store, it's because a buddy did.
Sure,
right?
sure.
But
your group,
yes,
your pod,
yes. Because otherwise, why?
Yeah. So Caden says, I get people hunting for rare bourbons, but they usually tell me that and leave right away. I mean, I guess if you're like really looking for something absolutely specific, but for me, I'll take the closest replacement if I can't get what I want. Like if I'm in there,
if I went in there to essentially look for rare bourbon, which hey, there's nothing wrong with that. If I didn't find what I was looking for, I'd probably still just be like, yeah, well, you know what, I'm gonna grab this something, right? Maybe it's, I think I might at that point just be like, yeah, this is something I've been looking to try, or this is something that I kind of enjoy. Here we go.
Ice Pyro said Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, that was the better answer.
Much better answer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ice Pyro. Do you want to host a radio show? You're better at this than we are. Famous Star Wars ship captain Jack Sparrow. He
played by Michael Bolton.
Yes, Michael Bolton playing Captain Jack Sparrow, and he was the captain of the Yearly Eagle, or whatever the
Gryffindor.
The Gryffindor. That's also better than what I was saying. The Millennium Gryffindor. He drove them. He was the captain of the Millennium Gryffindor. Jack Sparrow is definitely a Slytherin.
Yeah,
100%. I think we've answered the questions from Twitch. This is so chaotic weird. So the only time I've gone into a liquor store and not bought something is because they were out of something. But again, if you've got something really specific in mind, fine. But if I'm there, I'm probably looking to restock a little bit, right? Like maybe you don't have my item, but I'd rather take the second best item than nothing.
I guess if you only really like one thing, I guess, but I don't know. I feel like there's usually always something in a liquor store that like I'm going to be pretty happy with. And there's like 30 Boulevard products.
We should, one thing we should keep in mind, Rudy, is that not everyone on Twitch is an alcoholic. And so we don't have necessarily everybody's wavelength on our wavelength.
It's a great point.
So
it's a great point.
I need to get, here's a question for you. Chaotic Warrior says, Josh, I live in Wichita. There's a liquor store on every other street corner. Fair point.
Yep.
Fair point, I guess. Yeah, good point.
Yep.
Here's my last liquor store-based question. I've lost my train of thought completely. No, here it is. I got it. I remembered it again. So let's say you are, in this case, me. You've got several weekends ago, I got the Berry Noir Boulevard. I got the Chill Vibes Boulevard, which is like a cucumber, it's one of my favorite things. I love it. And then I got the unfiltered like variety pack. There's a kiwi, there's a grapefruit, there's a dry hop, there's just straight up unfiltered wheat. If you get to the point, if you kind of work, for me, I don't know if this is even a foregone conclusion. For me, I will generally try to make myself kind of work through like a little rotation where I'm not... I would never just drink all of one of them at once and then move on to the next one. I like a little variety, the spice of life, they say. But will you actively drink something that you like a little bit less first to save the best for last? Or are you going to drink your favorite stuff first and then just get to your non-favorite stuff whenever you get to it? It's like for me, the Chill Vibes one is like that one and the unfiltered wheat grapefruit are like they might be on the metal stand, and there's not a lot of space on the metal stand. There's 3, and those are 2 beers. Maybe on the metal stand for just liquids total, just all liquids. It's just water, and then those 2. But what do you do, Rudy? Are you going to save the best for last, your favorite for last? So you've always got one of your favorites in the back there? Or are you going to just blaze through your favorites and then just cross the bridge of everything else whenever you get there? All the Boulevard ones are very good, just for the record.
Yeah.
I have some other branded things that occasionally sit back in the fridge a little longer.
Yeah, I'm definitely I will go with my favorite first, and then I'll deal with my least favorite stuff later. And part of that's probably occasionally I may go different, but part of that is I'm typically going to go with my favorite first because I assume I will likely get my favorite back in stock, I guess, or
That's true.
I'll restock on it before I'm subjugated to my lesser favorites.
Several quick comments from Twitch here on this exact topic. Thank you, Twitch chat, for fulfilling for answering this question as well as you did. Chaotic Warrior and Caden both sort of get to the point of, I'm drinking my favorite thing first because once I get to my least favorite thing, taste is no longer important. If you're going at it that hard.
That's a great point.
Great point. I'm thinking more sort of recreationally, just like one here, one Monday, one Tuesday, that kind of deal. But that's a great point. But Bartman says you always save your killer for last, work through it, then finish strong. That's kind of how I feel. I want to know that my choice piece is in the back. That I've always got the chill vibe ones there. But it's great references from everybody on Twitch. Here's my other non-sportsy thing at all whatsoever. Or you know what? I'm going to save it. We're going to take an early break. We're going to come back. I want to work through some Chiefs draft stuff. We got into, our love of science fiction. Did you ever watch Firefly, Rudy? It's one season of Firefly in the movie. Stupid.
I did.
I'm just trying to get my nerd card back. Yeah. I think I'm self-conscious about having my nerd card taken from me.
I know what you're talking about. I don't believe I've seen it.
I was going to reference it, but I was going to do it with a pretty ginormous spoiler, and I just didn't feel like I was going to do that to you or the listeners. So.
I'll probably forget about. I'm very good at forgetting. Like I knew the ending of Breaking Bad before I ever saw Breaking Bad, and then managed to watch all of Breaking Bad, having completely forgotten the ending of Breaking Bad, and then all of a sudden after the ending of Breaking Bad, I was like, oh yeah, I knew this actually. But I forgot about it.
Oh, fair enough, I guess. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some Chiefs draft stuff we didn't get to yesterday. The spoiler, of course, is that the bad guy is the good guy's father.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
The Force will be with you, always.
May the Force be with you.
Hey, Luke.
May the Force be with you.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
May the Force be with you.
Imperial or Rebel, Jedi or Sith. Happy Star Wars Day from Sports Radio 810, WHB.
Hey folks, this is Nate Bucati from my friend Gary Joslin and Joslin's Jewelry. Look, in this day and age, most jewelry stores won't give you the service or knowledge that you need. If you want to work with real Kansas Cityans and get a great diamond at a great price, trust me, go to Joslin's. They're all about making friends and having long-term relationships. That's why they do such a great business with their in-house repairs. If you take your ring into one of those big box jewelry stores because it needs a repair, be prepared to pay all kinds of markups and fees that you don't need. That's not what they do at Joslin's. At Joslin's, you get an honest quote, a fair price, and the repairs that you need. And they've got a great selection of diamonds. So give them a call today at 913-341-2021, or you can look them up online at joslinsjewelry.com. Joslin's Jewelry, the jeweler you'll recommend to your friends and family.
Joslin's Jewelry for the best that's yet to come.
The house just isn't spring clean until you've had a Zero-Res clean. Zero-Res carpet and air duct cleaning is proven to remove more soils from your home. And yes, that includes pollen and allergens too. Only Zero-Res offers a zero residue carpet cleaning, so you get cleaner carpets that stay cleaner longer. Schedule your Zero-Res cleaning today. 3 rooms for just $119 for carpets, or save $50 off a Zero-Res air duct cleaning. Zero-Res, it's the right way to clean. Online at ZeroResKC.com.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
If you're thinking about making a career change, then listen to this. Sports Radio 810 has an opening on our sales team for someone who has a passion for selling. With the freedom to move around the city and unlimited control over your income, this is the perfect opportunity for a self-starter. Best candidates possess the energy and creativity to help area businesses grow and prosper. Media sales or sports industry sales experience is preferred. If you're interested in learning more, go to 810WHB.com and search for employment opportunities.
Join Seren Petro at the Salty Iguana in Prairie Village on Wednesday for a special Cinco de Mayo party. The Salty Iguana has been the place to celebrate Cinco de Mayo for over 30 years. Come enjoy Kansas City's favorite Mexican food with drink specials all day long. Party at your favorite Salty Iguana Mexican restaurant or order your favorite Mexican food and margaritas to go at saltyiguana.com and host your own Cinco de Mayo party at home. Margaritas will be on special all day, so come by and see the program at the Salty Iguana at 83rd and Mission in Prairie Village. If you have an urgent orthopedic or sports injury, the University of Kansas Health System is open, safe, and has extended hours to see you quickly. Your orthopedic and sports injuries deserve treatment from the experts who treat the Royals. Request an appointment at kansashealthsystem.com/sportsmedicine. The University of Kansas Health System is the official healthcare provider of the Kansas City Royals. Request your appointment today at kansashealthsystem.com/sportsmedicine.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Some people are like, hey, Ben Franklin wasn't a president, and some people are like, yes, he was.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
This isn't anything that we'll talk about for very long, I guess, but Rudy was just telling me about this overlay from Pitching Ninja on Twitter of Zach Greinke throwing a 53-mile-an-hour eFist pitch and a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. And the ball movement on both of them is hilarious. Like, just once the ball has left his hand, it's funny just to see how wildly different these two pitches are from the same pitcher. The crazy thing, though, is that his delivery is mechanically, like, identical. And I understand, if you watched him and didn't watch the ball come out of his hand, I would absolutely understand how he threw a 53-mile-an-hour pitch this way, because it just doesn't look like he's throwing it very hard. And then you realize that also this same exact motion produced a 90-mile-an-hour fastball right at the bottom of the zone. And it just doesn't make any sense. It just makes absolutely no sense, which is, not out of the norm for Zach Greinke, who is an alien.
Truly one of the most talented pitchers. You're gonna look at the career numbers, and one, they're incredibly good, but they're not necessarily top 10 in baseball history good. He might be though one of the 10, 20 most talented pitchers,
and also one of the most interesting dudes.
Yes.
Just a weirdo for a huge variety of reasons. And it seems like, for a while it seemed like it was not coming from a healthy place, and now it seems much healthier. Like he kind of has a grip on who he is and everything. And some of the stories you get are just they just don't seem like it's not a normal person, because he's not a normal person. He's an incredibly talented, very strange individual.
It's funny because as good as he is, so frequently he just looks like he is just bored of playing baseball. But yet here he is, and he's talked about this publicly in the sense that he wanted to be a hitter. He likes hitting, he likes fielding more than he likes pitching. He's not I don't know how much he really likes pitching. He's just incredibly good at it. And could you imagine if he was somebody you think of a Trevor Bauer type who is just is so obsessed with pitching down to the science of it.
Yeah.
And he's incredibly talented as well, but obviously not just Zach Greinke raw natural talent. Zach Greinke, and I don't want to make this sound like he doesn't work hard or anything for him, but Zach Greinke, I'm sure, has worked extremely hard to get to where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
But you almost get the feeling of he is just almost relying on just natural talent so often.
Yeah.
And usually you don't succeed at the professional level just relying on natural talent. And Zach Greinke just so frequently seems like he is.
And you're right that it's the 90-mile-an-hour fastball looks like it's coming out of the hand of a bored dude.
Yeah.
just like throwing baseballs past his kid who cannot get the bat on the ball. And he's like, all right, man, like fine, like here I will throw you a 53 mile an hour sky ball here. And the exact same way I'll throw a 90 mile an hour fastball at the bottom of the zone. It's
Pitching
crazy.
is essentially too easy for him, which is why I think he likes to hit, because it's like he just finds that he's like, oh, that's actually more difficult. Which, I mean, it is. You know, if you're a great hitter, you still get out 70% of the time. That whole thing. He is just like, pitching's too easy. I just want to swing the bat.
Facebook commenter said Greinke's more like a Sith Lord. I think that's he's just like a very quiet Jedi. Certainly using the Force in some way, though.
Yeah.
And then also from Caden, I'm mentioning this because Rudy had literally said this during the break. He'd literally. That's Caden's. You guys get it. Said this during the break. Said, I don't know who it was on ESPN Daily, but they said that it would be interesting to see Greinke's career if he was treated like Shohei Ohtani has been. He would be fascinating. I would have loved to have been able to see that. But just an incredible talent. This is so predictable. We might not get through all of the draft stories that I thought we would get to tonight because there's a little bit of actual NFL news and more like NFL reports, but also a couple of like actual pieces of relatively large news here within the division. Broncos tackle Jawan James suffered a season-ending torn Achilles working out today. Schefter points out this is away from the team facility, so his $10 million salary for the upcoming season now is in jeopardy because Denver no longer is obligated to pay for him for working out off-site. The element of that seems completely bonkers to me is that no NFL team in the history of the sport has ever assumed that their players would not work out away from the team sites. Like, you don't necessarily live in the same city. You certainly don't literally live in the facility. Maybe, I mean, I did see somewhere and mention somewhere, like, the city may be mattering. But, you know, Patrick Mahomes works out in Texas all the time. And that's fine, and that's okay.
No, he should be just sleeping on a couch,
right?
Playing Call of Duty all summer long. Just nothing.
No cardio until training camp.
A single tape, not a second of film.
It's just it's really weird.
You want to run around with your daughter? Sorry.
Absolutely not. You sit right there. You put yourself in a cryogenic chamber like Antonio Brown until your feet freeze off. But if you do that, your contract's also in jeopardy, unless it's a cryogenic chamber in the team facility.
Just lock them in a closet.
It's very weird. It is very, very weird to say, well, you were working out for your job as a professional athlete in a place where our trainers weren't, and you got hurt, and so now we don't have to pay you. And there are specific, I think clauses in various contracts and stuff. I'm not saying this is a blanket clause that covers everything. I really don't know, but it's just really gross. I really do not like that at all. He also opted out last year, so his contract just moved over a season. The year before, he got hurt. I think he played 3 games, so it's a huge, just brutal break. And maybe the Broncos will just do the right thing, and honestly, maybe they can pay him not against the cap and maybe get the best of both worlds. I don't know. But it's just leaves a terrible taste in my mouth to think that a guy who gets hurt working out simply on the technicality of working out elsewhere could not have to be paid his injury guarantee, which he would have been paid if he would have been hurt the exact same way at the team facility. I do not care for that one bit. Also, the NFLPA might need to grow some teeth on some of that stuff.
Yeah, Caden on Gets the Show on Twitch says you want to freeze yourself in carbonite like Han Solo, which I think is a great idea. Now, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Professor Snape that gets frozen in the carbonite, but I get where he's going.
It was in Jurassic Park 2 where Snape gets frozen in carbonite because they were freezing all the dinosaur eggs in carbonite, I think. Mm-hmm. And Snape, played by Jeff Goldblum, of course, wanders into the carbonite chamber and gets frozen in there with some dinosaurs. And then they thaw him out, and he comes out. What's that? He's part dinosaur now. And then he has to be tamed by Daenerys.
He's a dinosaur, man.
He has to be tamed by Daenerys after that. And it's
Did
a
you ever
great
see
show.
the Fly? Was it Flyman or whenever Jeff Goldblum's?
I think it's called The Fly.
The Fly. Yeah.
Weird for
the dino.
Weird for that to be the thing we get right in this bit.
Yes, because that thing, that is a weird movie.
I've not seen it. I will almost certainly never watch it. It doesn't sound like something I care to watch.
It's just weird.
But it sounds incredibly weird, and I am aware of it.
I probably haven't seen it since I was like 5, 6, 7, something like that. Whew. It's an experience, man, for a child.
How would you compare it to to a horror movie like when Chucky goes into your dreams?
So yeah, not traumatizing, because here's the thing. For I don't know, 7 years, and my sister said the word Chucky would yell at her, and I could not get onto my bed without a running start because I thought he was going to grab me and drag me underneath.
Chucky's the one with the scissor hands, right?
Yes.
Okay. So with the Juwan James story,
where's the hockey mask?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the hockey mask and the scissor hands and the striped sweater, and he is under your bed and in your dreams.
Yeah.
On
Pine Street.
From the Final Destination movies. So following the Juwan James news, if I really needed just to get angry about something for a segment, I would probably make it that. We'll see how that plays out, though. I'm going to give the Broncos a chance to not be the absolute worst, and also maybe there's some detail of the Juwan James story where he actually tore his Achilles playing competitive hockey or something.
Cars.
Yeah, right. Maybe there's something where it's well, that was a violation of your contract. I think Patrick Mahomes can't ride a motorcycle or something, right?
Yes, I believe that is the Big Ben clause. Remember when he got in a wreck his rookie year, maybe second year in the league? I don't think it was rookie
only
year.
Vaguely,
it was very
but yeah.
early in his career.
So
and then that became a big thing where now all of a sudden everybody's contract included no, you can't be on a motorcycle, man.
So there are things that I'm not going to treat that story as if it's finished, but it did make me feel gross kind of learning about it today. But the direct sort of correlation, that even more than the Broncos losing an excellent tackle, is this tweet from Matt Lombardo of Fansided. Works closely with our friend Matt Verderam. We'll try to get a hold of Verderam, talk to him hopefully this Friday, as we usually do on Fridays. He wrote this on Twitter, at Matt Lombardo NFL. Much more on this in tomorrow's national NFL column on Fansided, but one name sources say to watch as the Broncos look to replace Juwan James: Mitchell Schwartz.
I don't like that.
I don't either. And this isn't a part of the report, but Eric Fisher would make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Fisher is reportedly visiting the Indianapolis Colts. Chris Ballard there makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Doesn't hurt me as much.
Not as much. The Colts have some ghosts in them. Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck ghosts.
Carson Wentz.
But I also
who is a ghost?
Who is an active ghost. I've always kind of had a little. I don't know if this is really true because maybe this is in retrospect more so now that they can't hurt me anymore. But I think the Colts are the Colts seem to be a pretty likable organization.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I like Ballard. I'm kind of rooting for Wentz. And I like Frank Reich.
With the exception of this previous year with Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck was generally always a likable guy. Now, here's the thing. I like Phillip Rivers because
that's the thing. I like Phillip Rivers even more out of the division,
But most people didn't really necessarily I don't think most NFL fans consider Phillip Rivers necessarily a likable guy because he's always arguing with the referee or something.
That's fair.
But I personally, Andrew Luck was the gosh shucks, I'm starting a book club for everybody.
Yes.
And just a fun team.
Yeah. Honestly, Eric Fisher going into the Colts might be a best case scenario right now, just sort of among the likely scenarios in terms of, because here I want to make this part very, very clear. While I'm also clearly a little bit bummed about the idea of having to watch Mitchell Schwartz block Frank Clark twice in a year. Because, oof.
It's also, and this is, I don't mean this is disrespect to Eric Fisher because I'm a huge Eric Fisher fan. I think Eric Fisher was wildly underrated in this city, and every time he went down, we were reminded of just how good Eric Fisher really was and how valuable he was. Was he Jonathan Ogden and Orlando Pace? No, but that is a ridiculous standard to hold somebody to. But that's that's what happens when you're the #1 overall pick. But
for sure.
But Mitchell Schwartz was excellent at his job. Like he was was elite at his job. He was so likable. He was good with the media.
Likeable.
Like Eric Fisher's a nice guy. I've had the chance to meet him once or twice, but he's not a guy who wanted to like necessarily talk to the media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell Schwartz was great at all that stuff. And the cooking, he's just awesome.
And so I would be pretty bummed about if I would be bummed about any of them going to divisional rivals, to be clear. Either of those two. If either of them went to the Colts or whatever, it'd be fine. But I will take, with all of that, just sort of, I'm just sort of being the messenger that's like a little bit bummed out about the reality of things right now. Because frankly, the Chiefs, the only place on the offensive line the Chiefs could use more depth would be at left tackle, because if Orlando Brown Jr. gets hurt, you're kind of bleeped. But if your starting left tackle gets hurt, you're probably kind of bleeped regardless. And at that point, maybe you're trying to bring in whatever remaining free agent is out there, which might be your Eric Fisher equivalent. Hopefully, knock on wood, that there's no concern about Orlando Brown, who's been healthy his career and is super young. So hopefully that's fine. But it seems relatively inevitable if either of them want to play again and get their health back. Fisher seems probably more likely to do that more like permanently, because a tendon, even one as serious as an Achilles, a tendon is, when it's right again,
It'll
right?
heal.
With a back, now Schwartz had surgery, which might actually help, but they linger. Here is the serious take that I actually do hope people hear me on. Let's not do the Jamal Charles thing again here, okay? When Jamal Charles ended up in Denver, I would say maybe the 2 times around the Chiefs fan base where I have felt the most sort of frustrated with a certain subset of Chiefs fans.
I think we're going to be on the same page
It's
here.
Tony Gonzalez and Jamal Charles.
Oh, I was a little off, but that is a good one.
What were you going to say?
So there was essentially, for me, there are 3, and it's Jamal Charles, Tony Gonzalez, because I kind of forgot about Tony Gonzalez. And then I'll be honest, I didn't like the way essentially we treated Marcus Peters.
Yeah, that's actually very fair.
Yeah, so there's like 3 of them that really stick out.
The reason, so Peters is a little bit of a different type of case.
For sure.
With Tony Gonzalez and Jamal Charles are also both different. But specifically, the reason that I specifically think of Jamal Charles is, one, he ended up in Denver. I'm a little bummed that Marcus Peters was never as beloved here as I thought he should be. Tony Gonzalez and Jamal Charles, but people kind of, I think some Chiefs fans think of Tony G like differently, because he like said that he was really grateful for his time in Atlanta when he was talking to members of the Atlanta media in a way that he's like, but he said it made his career. You got to grow up. Just like, he was doing media in Atlanta, and he's beloved. He should be beloved here. He should be beloved there. Just chill. Like, you've got to let it go.
Remember those Chiefs teams at the end of his career?
Yeah, the absolute, just crushing the competition. Just road grader teams.
And it got
They won,
worse.
what, 14, 15 games every year?
And that was a sad thing. Like, the
worse.
last couple years that Gonzalez was on the Chiefs were bad, and it got worse.
Yeah. So I don't. Honestly, I don't think I can say it more concisely than if you're like holding a grudge against Tony Gonzalez for being grateful for his time in Atlanta, you need to grow up a little bit. That's over there. But Jamal Charles had a very similar thing happen, because he did choose to go to Denver from the open market. But here's the thing. He got cut. He got hurt, and he got cut. Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz and Jamal Charles, none of those dudes demanded their release. None of them demanded a trade. They got hurt. The organization looked at them and said, we're not going to pay you to rehab. We are going to rebuild the offensive line without you, which, by the way, is a fine. I'm not mad at the organization for doing that. Look at the O-line right now. I think it's a good thing for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in 2021 that they're not waiting to see if Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz get healthy before they make a move. And you can't make the moves they made this offseason with those guys still on the books. A totally reasonable overhaul of the Chiefs' offensive line. But if Mitch Schwartz wants to continue his career in a team that offers him a deal that makes sense to him, if it's location, if it's money, if it's playing opportunity, if that team ends up being the Denver Broncos, don't you dare be a bleep hole about it. Because if your company laid you off And even if you loved your time there and you planned on going back to that area after you retired permanently, if your company laid you off and your company's competitor offered you a good job, your best opportunity for you and your family, you would go take that job. Of course you would. So there are probably plenty of people listening right now who are just like nodding along, like, yes, Josh, I get it and I agree with you, and that's fine. You're probably not the people that need to be hearing it in that case. But that's one thing that I really hope we don't end up in that space again. Now, you also could say, as a couple people on Twitter said, like, I don't think those guys are going to be healthy by the time the season starts. Super possible. Yet you can remember that whenever he was lying to us a couple months ago, Brett Veach said that the timeline was for those dudes to be back by training camp.
Of 2023.
Of this year. I don't think the Chiefs I think that's a very aggressive, very optimistic timeline. And I think that even if they thought there was an okay chance of that happening, they wanted to get younger, and a couple places a little cheaper and more assured. So maybe one of those guys is back by camp. Maybe both of them are. Maybe none of them are. I don't know, man. That's on the Broncos and the Colts to figure out, and that's what this visit's going to be for Fisher. Like, he's visiting them like now or tomorrow, or later this week, actually. Later this week, the main thing is going to be the medicals. They can turn on his tape from last year, and that's a starting NFL left tackle. Not a top 5 one, but certainly a top 30 one, and probably a top 15 to 20 one, if I'm being honest. Pre-injury. Post-injury, I don't know. They don't know either. But these guys are going to try to continue their careers. If they do try to continue their careers, they're going to take a job at the place that gives them the best opportunities. And please extend, like, some amount of human understanding to them as that happens.
Cheer for them the way you cheered for Brady Quinn when he was coming on the field after Matt Castle got knocked the bleep out.
Another time that I do think Chiefs fans probably would want one back. Yeah, probably another not great time.
Those were the good old years.
Holy smokes, man. We have been in some dark places just sort of as a football city
recently.
Yeah, cheering as Brady Quinn took the field after Matt Castle had been concussed.
And then Eric Winston's speech.
I could not remember his name for the life of me. Yes. Eric Winston were not gladiators, which is true.
Yes.
It's true.
Football's a weird sport, man.
It is very weird. It's all very strange. We're all praising. We'll talk to Seth Keysor of The Athletic, the Chief of the North newsletter, and Times Ours here in about 10 minutes. But it's funny to me also, just sort of in a similar vein. I think the most universally praised pick from the Chiefs draft class is the dude that almost had to retire from blood clots. Like, that's where the sport is. Like, it's just a weird sport. It's just a weird sport. It's a weird ecosystem. We'll take a break. Whenever we come back, we'll talk about something else.
At JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, at Not That Rudy, at Sports Radio 810. Just do it already.
A reading from the Golden Oak Lending Book of Mortgage Lingo.
What is a no-charge appraisal? It's never asking for a credit card or charging for a home appraisal if we can't close your loan.
No risk on refinancing, but I live for danger.
I'm James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak Lending. Refinancing with Golden Oak is anything but risky business. And with our mortgage rates at a low 2.25%, you can save hundreds each month and skip your next 2 payments. And remember, our local lending experts speak mortgage and love translating for our customers. Removing risk from your next purchase or refi means you can find your thrills elsewhere.
Skydiving? No. Cliff jumping. Wait, hang gliding.
Aren't you afraid of heights?
Stop. You're embarrassing me.
Get started today with our simple zipline tool at goldenoaklending.com.
NMLS 114937, 2.25% fixed, 3.195% APR, FHA 15-year mortgage with 20% equity and approved credit. JLB Corporation, 8595 College Boulevard, Overland Park, Kansas.
Championship Barbecue is now available at your fingertips with the new Joe's Kansas City Barbecue online ordering app. Place your order for the legendary Z-Man or Rocket Pig sandwiches, slabs of ribs, or a burn-end dinner right now. It's just a few clicks from your smartphone, and your order will be hot and ready for curbside pickup. The new Joe's Kansas City Barbecue app is perfect for a weeknight dinner with the family or feeding your entire office. So don't wait. Download the brand new Joe's Kansas City Barbecue app today.
He was a key contributor to the great teams of the 1990s.
Timmy is one of the greatest Chiefs ever to wear that uniform.
Great job, Grunny. You've deserved this for a long time. So happy you've made the Chiefs Hall of Fame.
Our very own Tim Grunhard will be unveiled this fall as the newest member of the Chiefs Hall of Fame.
Even after retirement, you've made Kansas City your home. Congrats, buddy.
Congratulations from all of us at Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey guys, it's Todd Lebo here for CertaPro Painters. They've done a great job at my house always, whether they're painting the outside like they did a few years ago or inside. It's always top notch from start to finish. CertaPro Painters are the best. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so that's a plus. You can start your process right now by logging on to CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. Spring is here, so it's definitely time to get on their exterior painting schedule after the rough winter we just had. Schedule your free estimate right now online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C.
Hey guys, remember when you used to look forward to intimacy? Do you find yourself getting anxious or stressed out about it, even avoiding the situation? Studies show that more than half of men over 50 will experience ED over the course of their life. Viagra only works some of the time, and side effects can be brutal. West Coast Men's Health uses acoustic wave energy to treat the real cause of ED. By breaking down plaque, blood flow is restored, and you're back in the game. No pills, no shots, no pain. Isn't it time you put the stress of ED behind you for good? Schedule a consultation today at westcoastmenshealth.com or give us a call.
Call West Coast Men's Health at 913-243-3200. That's 913-243-3200. Call now, 913-243-3200. HSA cards welcome.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Of course, we can help you find some fuel treatment. Right now, we have buy one, get one free on STP Super Concentrated Fuel Injector Cleaner. Plus, AutoZone Rewards members get a $1 bonus reward. Not a member? Don't worry. Joining is easy. And you can even earn an extra $5 bonus reward when you join with a valid email. Getting your job done just got easier. Restrictions apply. See terms at AutoZone.com/rewards.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Is it okay for your 9-year-old and 11-year-old? Depends on if you're okay with a really uncomfortable C-3PO droid sex scene. Is that true? Who knows? Yes, that was actually in the movie. That's the only one of the three that I said. There is a long, awkward, drawn-out C-3PO lovemaking scene.
With Joshua Brisco.
Just imagine C-3PO going, oh dear. That may have been the first thing I thought of.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Twitch chat, Facebook chat, YouTube chat, all been very good today. Good work, everybody. Won't have time to read all the comments that I'd like to go through because I got to tell you one thing before we get to Seth Keysor. I told you late yesterday I got my second COVID shot back on Sunday, and about 24-ish hours in, my left arm started getting a little sore, which is the arm I got the shot on. And then yesterday I realized that like my armpit hurt a little bit. And I looked, and it's a little swollen. I found this on Yale Medicine. A COVID-19 vaccine can cause enlarged lymph nodes in your armpit or near your collarbone on the side of your body where you receive the injection. It's an it's an immune system response, which makes sense. It does that's the whole deal. Apparently, 0.3% of patients with the Pfizer vaccine, which is the one that I got, experience that. Which is very, very, like, I just feel very, very lucky. I just feel honored. Thank you, Pfizer vaccine. I got these 3 tweets from the Fogcast, Dan Walk on Twitter, and then the Fogcast again. We thought my fiance may have had breast cancer till we found out it was a vaccine effect. Not that you have breasts, just thought you'd find it interesting. Swollen lymph node gain, rise up. Dan responded, he does have breasts though. All humans do. Max responds, we are all one big breast. The moral of that story is that usually Twitter is a nightmare, but occasionally it is everything you could ever want from a very bad, very weird website. I am the 0.3% also. Again, I'm honored. Seth Keysor is next.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Winter is coming, so plan now to keep those bugs out with Augustine Exterminators. Now is the time to establish and or maintain a barrier around your house. Don't let it break down. At Augustine Exterminators, they have you covered. Augustine Exterminators is a family-owned, local business since 1966. All of their techs are certified in both Missouri and Kansas. In fact, check out their amazing reviews from all their KC area customers. They're also a Quality Pro and Green Pro company. Augustine also does carpet, rug, air duct, and tile cleaning. They have an excellent referral program as well. Refer a new customer, and you and they get $25 off their next service. That's right, refer a friend, and you both get $25 off your next service. Shop and buy local with Augustine Exterminators. Call Augustine Exterminators today at 913-359-8627 or go online at AugustineExterminators.com. And Augustine is looking for qualified technicians. So call today at 913-359-8627.
Hi, this is Justin Cole, Private Wealth Manager at Creative Planning. Over the last few years, we have grown to one of the largest nationally recognized wealth management firms in the country. While we are proud of our success, we are most proud of our Kansas City roots. We were founded in Kansas City and remain headquartered here because there's no place we'd rather be. We are Kansas City strong. Thank you, Kansas City, and thank you to our clients. If you're not a client, we invite you to reach out for a free, no-obligation financial review. You can find us at creativeplanning.com or by calling 913-338-2727.
After such an extraordinary year, it's time to celebrate the most extraordinary member of the family, Mom. Diamonds Direct invites you to join us as we say cheers to the mothers in our lives. For this Mother's Day, we've put together an exceptional collection of affordable and meaningful gifts for any budget. Birthstone rings, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. So cheers to you, Mom, for being such an incredible partner, for learning to be a teacher in the past year, for keeping the family healthy and safe, for always putting everything else first. This year, more than ever, she deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Diamonds Direct, that's our specialty. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come. Why not surprise her with a bigger diamond for her ring? Come let the experts at Diamonds Direct help you find that remarkable gift that says, cheers, Mom, for all your remarkable efforts over the last year. Diamonds Direct at 119th and Row.
With material costs rising due to shortages caused by the COVID virus, it's imperative you call Easton Roofing now to get the best price on a new roof, roof repairs, gutters, and attic insulation. By buying in bulk early, Easton Roofing has been able to keep costs down, but that won't last. With material costs expected to rise 30 or even 40% this summer, the price for your roof will never be cheaper than right now. With Easton, estimates are always free. No payment is collected until you're 100% satisfied. Commercial or residential, it's Easton Roofing. 913-257-5426. Online at eastonroofing.com. Easton Roofing, getting you back to life faster.
With its dedication to bringing wellness to Kansas City, CBD American Shaman is excited to announce the opening of Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness at 117th and Row in Camelot Court. Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness offers medical aesthetics and IV nutrient therapy, and there is a full-service CBD American Shaman store there too. Start your journey to wellness with Shaman's Leewood Total Wellness. Call 913-227-9150 or go to shamantotalwellness.com. Life is better with the feather.
Hey guys, it's Corey Anderson, and this Thursday I'll be at Euro Select Cabinets and Decor. Their Memorial Day sale is starting now. They're offering 5-day kitchen makeovers, including countertops, faucets, sinks, and backsplash. That's right, Euro Select Cabinets and Decor can transform your kitchen in just 5 days. And if you're looking for new cabinets, they can handle that as well. Come see me at the Euro Select Cabinets and Decor showroom on the corner of 99th and Lackman Road this Thursday to learn all about their custom remodeling services.
You're listening to the most powerful sports station in the country. Sports Radio 810, WHB Kansas City, the power of sports.
Now it's time for very serious football talk with the man who met his wife on a blind date, chaperoned by his parents.
They actually came along on the first date with us. That was
No!
I rode in the back seat. I was 22.
The man who needs to take a minute to remember the names of all of his children.
Do all of your kids have the same first letter?
No, actually. Let me think. Do any of them? Tucker, Mason, Cole, Isabel, and Lucas.
The man who can defend you in court but will probably choose not to.
I'll cop to this on a public setting right now. I am an aggressive cuddler in a consensual sense.
Comma, officer.
Good grief, he's a pastor too? When does this guy sleep?
You will find Seth Keysor everywhere except for in his or your bed, because not only does he not sleep, he's also a faithful husband. So that's important.
It's Seth Keysor of The Athletic on Almost Entirely Sports.
Boy, it feels good to have actual new football players on the Kansas City Chiefs to talk to Seth Keysor about. We got draft picks. We got a whole draft class of 6. Maybe we'll just spend the whole hour on Jerick McKinnon. Who's to say? I'm to say, and we won't. We're going to talk about the Chiefs draft right now with Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, the Time Czars podcast of The Athletic. You can follow him on Twitter at RealMN. Chiefs fan Seth, how did you enjoy the draft weekend that was, as the Chiefs did actually select new players, and they're actual players that are on the roster and not just ideas that get thrown out into the ether?
I enjoyed it a great deal. It's always nice for me when it goes from being a hypothetical discussion to a real discussion. I like hypotheticals as much as the next guy, and they're fun to talk about. I'll talk about what Jamal Charles might have looked like in front of the 2003 line forever.
Right.
But it's nice to have tangible stuff to think about, because it lets you know maybe where the team's coming from, and it gives new players to watch. And one thing I love most about this job is watching new players. I love doing it. I love watching new. That's like the thing I'm most excited for, sadly enough. Every season when it starts, I'm just like, man, I get to review different all 22. These plays are going to be different. Because you just get used to, because you've watched the same plays a zillion times, except for the Super Bowl, which I've watched 5 or 6 times, and I'm not doing it again, and you can't make me.
You've watched it 5 or 6 times?
Yeah, I watched it twice to chart Mahomes' snaps and do a little searching on some stuff. If you include watching it initially.
Sure.
So then I watched the offensive snaps in all 22 3 different times, twice for Mahomes, and then once to try to kind of get a feel for what the receivers did. And then I watched the defensive snaps once. So that's only, it's 5.
I watched it live, obviously, and
Yeah.
there have been a few times in the studio here where we just usually have NFL Network on one of the screens, like, pretty frequently. And sometimes it's like, rookie showcase, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and it's just the Bills game, right? Or like
Right.
they do all sorts of battle of the first round pick or the number 1 overall picks, and it's Kyler Murray versus Matt Stafford. I think I've seen a couple times. I don't know, they just gotta fill airtime. But sometimes it'll be a re-air of the Super Bowl, and I think that's happened twice, and I think I've changed the channel both times just because I knew it was going to distract me, and it wasn't going to add anything to the show or my hosting experience. It was just going to be kind of distracting and kind of a bummer. And I also don't know if there was much to learn from it in retrospect, so I have not watched it wire to wire for a second time even.
I have, you and I have talked about it enough to where I've watched enough now to be able to have takeaways about it. It was just a bunch of things went wrong at once. It was the whole Murphy's Law game. And at this point, when people say, well, what can you take away from it? And you address this, there's not a ton to take away from it. You're going to hear people say, oh, the Bucs, they figured it out. Everyone's going to follow that blueprint. And I think they'll try, just like everyone tried to follow the 49ers blueprint because they gave them a hard time for multiple quarters. Like people tried to follow Jacksonville's blueprint after the first time they played. Mahomes didn't throw a touchdown, et cetera, et cetera. Follow the Colts blueprint, because Mahomes on one foot didn't play as well.
Yes.
And
which was also kind of Tampa's blueprint, I guess. It was Mahomes on one foot in some way. That one's unrepeatable, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's kind of funny because the things that are takeawayable that's not English, from that game, they are, if you can get an insane amount of pressure on an opposing quarterback and his receivers drop 3 or 4 big plays and lose on 50-50 balls and another 3 or 4 plays, you're probably going to win. Mm-hmm. And that's true. And little things like, if you get a 2-touchdown lead early in the game and you have an offense that's largely predicated on play action, that helps your offense a ton. But everyone knows this stuff. And so that's why the Tampa game, it just doesn't have a ton of takeaways. Like, there's no new information there. Oh, hey, Tom Brady's good attacking the middle of the field and exploiting weak points of the defense and operating out of play action and doesn't get stressed out by pressure. Wow. This isn't.
Stunning.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, well, crap. So anyway, we get to move on from that, and it's great, and I'm excited.
If you want to know just something about me and Seth, it's that we have draft picks to talk about, and we just somehow spent a few minutes on the Super Bowl again. I don't know how that happened, but it did. Let's do this in terms of the draft class. You've got 2 film reviews that are up right now. People can go check them out on the Chief of the North newsletter. One on Creed Humphrey, one on Nick Bolton. We will talk about both of those guys in depth here over the course of our conversation tonight. Also, we'll look a little bit more kind of big picture because there's a story coming out in The Athletic that people can go check out very soon. But I want to kind of work backwards because I'm afraid that we're going to lose the whole segment with Humphrey and Bolton. And I am actually very, very interested in all 4 of the Chiefs' later picks. In some ways, I think they might be the 4 most interesting picks, which is not necessarily a positive or a negative thing. But I'm curious if you have that feel at all, or even if you don't think that necessarily those guys are that interesting, maybe they won't be that impactful, which is probably smarter money. Is there a guy from that group right now that you go, man, I feel good about this guy, even as kind of a very early impression without doing the full film review yet?
Sure. And so do you mean I feel good about him in year 1, or I feel good about long-term prospects?
I think it's whatever that means to you. Whatever you need that to mean.
Sure. I would say the guy that I feel the best about, and we're going to hit a point to where eventually he's going to become overrated for being talked about this way, would be Trey Smith.
Yep.
Which he's the one everyone's talking about, right? You knew the direction I was going there already.
I did.
Basically every draft review that you read is going to give him high marks for that pick, because a guy who is probably a 2nd or 3rd round talent, and by 2nd or 3rd, I mean, when I say probably, I mean basically everyone seemed to have him up there. He fell to the 6th over concerns that I think are kind of goofy because he's been playing for 2 years. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. You never know. But he has a ton of talent. He plays really mean. He has work to do, and that's going to get kind of lost because he's such a steal for the 6th round. People are in the immediate well, he's probably going to start, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, could. He has the talent, but he's got work to do in terms of technique. But he is a guy that I really like just because the talent level's so high. He does have a good amount of athleticism for a guy who can maul like he can. And he's very, very strong, very, very powerful, and blocks very, very mean. It's a lot of fun to watch. Not perfect by any means, but there's a lot of potential there. And I could see him taking the starting spot next year. There's an outlandish place where I could see him getting it this year, but a lot of things would have to go right for that. But I could see him locking down the guard spot for multiple years.
Which, if you can do that in the 6th round, is obviously a fantastic result. This is I've tried to phrase this in a way that doesn't end up coming off as in some way mean-spirited or whatever, because I don't want you to necessarily predict someone's downfall. But was there a guy from the rest of the group with whatever information you do have where you went, I'm not sure. I'm not holding my breath. I'm not going to count on this guy taking over a starting job in a year or whatever, because this one seems like it might be kind of the riskier gamble of the class.
I mean, I would say in terms of guys that I'm least confident will maybe go on to be some kind of contributor would be Kendo. And I understand he's got a lot of talent. I understand he was very highly recruited. I understand physically he's got everything you want. I understand that the coaching situation at Florida State has been a mess. And so a lack of development there, that's not necessarily his fault. But I know all these things, and I also know most defensive ends don't pan out. A lot of talented guys don't pan out. Now, every position doesn't pan out. So, I mean, you could say this for everyone. But I guess I've just seen this play a few times, not just in Kansas City, but all over. And I'm not sure, watching him briefly, you can see some flashes of stuff. Unlike, let's say, the 3 guys after him, Gray, Powell, and Smith, I can grab on to one thing on each of them I say, that intrigues me, right? Like I can see a player, a contributor being based around that. With Noah Gray, he's got some really unique shiftiness in how he runs routes. And he's got good athleticism combined with that makes him look like a pretty tough cover. And so, he's, 6'4", 240 if he's willing to do the blocking stuff, which he's going to need to get on the field. You can see that, right? You can see something built around that. With Powell, he looks like he runs solid routes, which at the college level is pretty rare. And it looks like, despite maybe some physical ceilings, he looks like he might be able to do a guy who can do some things in the short and intermediate areas. And the Chiefs need that. And then with Trey Smith, we just got done talking about, power, that sort of thing. Whereas with Kendo, I just don't see any one thing where I can see someone being built around that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it does. The other thing that I think is kind of funny is I'm answering the middle question here because you can tell me if you feel very differently or not, but I feel like there's a better chance that Cornell Powell ends up just like on this roster for 3 or 4 years in some role, where I could see Noah Gray because of all of the weirdness, and like we're talking about maybe them drafting like kind of an H-back, which is just sort of like that's like John Lovett was going to be that guy on this team a couple of years. Like it's just a very weird sort of dude without a position that could work out very well, or I could see not making any real impact. It's very strange to me that we're sort of taking it from the latest pick to the highest pick in terms of most optimistic to most pessimistic, and I don't know why that happens. I don't know what we're doing there, but I think that it might be the case.
I think it might actually go in that order. Because really with Noah Gray, because you hear things all the time about these backup guys like, hey, they're a little more athletic than you'd expect, and you always hear that, and it doesn't generally seem to pan out. So I think I might be willing to get on board with that in terms of the reverse order. With Gray, I just haven't watched enough of him to know.
Yeah.
And because again, there were a lot of now that I went back and looked, because I didn't want to be too prejudiced, but with him in particular, I was interested. And there were some, even pre-draft, there were some very kind things said about his route running and ability as a receiving tight end. So he picked a great landing spot.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, we'll see. But yeah, it is, Kendo was the pick that I just, in the brief, I've only watched a couple games. And so I'm going to rewatch those, and I'm going to watch a few more that I can find. And I'm just not quite seeing it. Now, that, again, doesn't necessarily mean anything. Sure. There are defensive linemen that develop in the league. But usually you see something in college. Like I said, that's with we talked about this when I was looking at tackles. All that work that I did.
Yes.
There's usually something, you're not charting wins and losses, at least I'm not, when I'm looking at college players, because the quality competition varies so much that's not going to tell you much. Maybe it would, like with SEC guys or something, but even then, it just varies. Yeah. So, you're looking for traits to grab onto. And so say even going back to last year's draft, right? You can look at those guys and you saw things to grab onto. Like even with Edwards-Helaire, it's like, running back in the first I don't really like. But with the receiving skills and the really, really quick cutting ability, you can see something to grab onto. Willie Gay Jr., that athleticism. Lucas Niang, really good feet for how big he is. That's what it looks like. Snead kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I knew he was athletic. But so you have these things to grab onto. Mike Dana was a technician for a college player, and turns out that translated really well. Not like superstar well, but well enough to play decently his first year, which hats off to him. So I just don't see it with Kendo, and I keep hoping that maybe someone will tell me, oh no, you're missing this. And so far, everyone that I say that to is like, yeah. So we'll see. He's athletic.
Yeah. I think this whole draft class is really interesting, especially down the list with those guys, because there's just I said this on the show last night. I may have said this on Times Ours, I can't remember, but it just seems like virtually everybody in this class, at least outside of the second round picks, very, very little would surprise me in terms of what their career will look like in retrospect. Like if the likelihood of outcomes is a bell curve, or the most likely thing is that they're somewhere in the middle, that is an extremely flat, very wide curve for me, where if you told me that Noah Gray was going to end up being some sort of like hybridized tight end slot receiver that other teams started trying to find their own version of in a couple of years, I would say, yeah, I could see that reality. And if you told me that he never saw the field because he never quite he never found a fit, that would also not surprise me. And I feel like I have at least little versions of that for all of the 4th and 5th and 6th round guys.
Yeah, I think that was a really good way of summing that up.
I've only had to say it like 6 different times to get it concise. So there we go.
No, that's the thing. You just keep saying it until it happens.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the first 2 guys then. You got the film reviews up here now, and I'm going to keep working backwards because last night the show really got away from us because we ended up talking about Nick Bolton for like an hour, and I didn't really think I had an hour of Nick Bolton talk in me. But I want to talk about Creed Humphrey, and I'm going to say this definitively here. Creed Humphrey, your new large adult son. An absolutely enormous announcement. Maybe the most important thing to come out of this week in terms of football, in any football terms, really. A huge, huge piece of breaking news. You might need to explain what that means to some people. It's just now hitting me that not everyone is going to know what Seth's large adult son actually entails.
How dare they? I suppose if someone only started following along the last few years. So while Mitch Morse played center for the Chiefs, I wrote a lot about him and how much I thought about him as a player. And it started off like as a rookie, and he came in and he played so well right away. And he does a lot of things that I really like. I love offensive linemen. And so I was complimenting him so often that someone referred to him as my large adult son, which I'm pretty sure is stolen from I feel like I've heard it before. I'm sure people say it.
Everything's stolen from somebody.
Yeah, everything's stolen. So I started referring to him as my large adult son, and I wrote in an article that I love him with a passion that burned with the heat of 1,000 suns, and his fiance at the time quote tweeted it, and it was very funny. I replied to her, and she had a great sense of humor about it. I suppose I can share this now because he's been off the team for a couple years. His dad emailed me and wrote me a very funny email and just was so gracious. And then Mitch and I.
But that is actually his large adult son.
It is, yeah. And we had. I think that's how he signed it off. Talking about our large adult son. It was very funny.
Oh, that's so good. I didn't know that story.
Yeah. It was very fun, and they said some very kind things to me, and I happened to have some good conversations with him over the years because he was gracious enough to answer some questions about offensive line. And I mean, he's just a genuinely good dude, and we all know how much good dudes that means something to me if you're a Times Ours listener. Mm-hmm. And so it just became a bit that was based somewhat on reality. He's also the player that almost broke my back, picking me up off the ground and giving me a hug in the locker room the first time I covered a game. And I'm like, dude, you gotta put me down. I'm trying to look like a professional here.
That's so good.
And then he proceeded to give me a quote that I absolutely couldn't share anywhere, and then gave me a few great quotes for The Athletic.
That's so good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So anyway, he's been my large adult son. I've had a few other large adult sons over the years that haven't quite panned out. It's hard. Being middle children is hard. And now,
do you remember your other large adult sons? I'm trying to remember who earned that honor.
I think Colin Saunders. And I like Saunders, but we'll see how he does this year. I'm rooting for him. He's got incredible athleticism. We'll see how it goes.
Well, of course he has incredible athleticism. He's a Keysor.
There's a lot that goes into that right there. So anyway, and so it was, especially when I might throw that term around carelessly, but when I am Talking about a center for the Kansas City Chiefs, for me to call someone my large adult son, that means something. And I have adopted Creed Humphrey. Look, Creed, you know what? You're going to be new in town. I understand this is weird, but it's just a lot easier if you just don't fight it and just accept that you are my large adult son. I'm a 36-year-old attorney from Minnesota. You could do worse for an adopted dad. You could do worse, Creed. And that's just basically a way of me saying I love the way he plays football, and one never knows, how people will translate to the pro level, right?
Mhm.
But he looks like a really, really good player. And, I mean, he's just the way I think Brandon Thorne, who has the Trench Warfare Substack, does a great job with offensive linemen. He actually broke down some of Creed's film with Creed. It was great. So you notice how I'm trying to acclimate him into me calling him by his first name. You know, this is how you get your large adult son to acclimate to you. It's like training a tiger. So,
or Stockholm syndrome. It's one of the two.
Yeah, potato.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just love the way he plays. Thorne called him battle tested, like because you can watch tape with him against Quinnen Williams, against some of the best defensive linemen in the country, year after year after year, and man, he just plays the game so well. I'm very excited for him.
So two things. One is I'd like to know what it is that you think specifically is going to translate so well. Why you're so kind of confident in. I mean, again, you're not necessarily even doing a whole lot of predicting as much as assessing, but it's a little bit of the same. And also, did you know that Humphrey's, I'm not going to say real, I'm going to say biological father was a 3-time All-American wrestler?
Oh, 3 times. Man, I didn't know it was 3 times. So he does so many things well. And again, this is at the college level, so you're looking to see at the pro level whether it'll translate. But that wrestling background, it shows up on film. There are plenty of successful offensive linemen that have wrestling backgrounds, but being as good as he was, that's a little different. And it shows up in his hand fighting and the way he seems to intuitively understand leverage and how to. I mean, it's so much of offensive line. There's so much technicality to it, but really, you're trying to move a big dude to a place he doesn't want to go, or keep a big dude from a place he wants to go. That's it.
Yeah.
It's very, very simple in a lot of ways. But as anyone who has wrestled knows, I personally did not wrestle. Some of my buddies were wrestlers, and I would never wrestle with them because they would hurt me. And as anyone who does, though, any type of wrestling or boxing or mixed martial arts or anything, there's certain ways to hit someone or to grab someone there's certain things that give you more leverage, more power, angles, that sort of stuff. Wrestling is actually a really technical sport where the difference in hand placement by a couple inches is the difference between winning and losing. It's like how in the real world it's the difference between a friendly gesture and a lawsuit. Sorry. I was really proud of that joke.
I can tell. You sounded like that one was ramping up. I like that.
Oh, yep. I like that you can hear those coming now. My wife starts to roll her eyes like 10 seconds in advance before I tell a joke. It's terrible. I'm comparing you to my wife at this point. We've been doing radio together for too long.
Yeah, I definitely have talked to you on like a more regular basis than my actual family, at least since they moved away from me. So yeah, no question.
That's how that goes.
Yeah.
So with Humphrey, he's excellent with his hand placement. He's a great athlete. He gets into space really well, and he's smart. He's so smart with everything he does. He doesn't really miss protections. He helps out. One of my favorite things about Morse, and one of the things that really got me all fired up, is how good he was helping when he was uncovered, when he didn't have anyone to block. He would always find where someone needed help, not just kind of mindlessly assisting one of the guards just to say you did something, but really looking around and seeing where you could help out. And so all of that, and with those types of guys, you don't often get guys that have some power too. And I think Humphrey does have some power. Part of it is because he's so good with his feet, with his base, and with his hand placement, that gives him an advantage. I don't think he's a naturally super powerful player, but I think he's average to a little above average there. And then when you combine that with how he does everything so well technically, you see a guy that plays with more power than you'd think. And it's hard to find that all in one package. And that's one reason why he was the second center off the board.
So I guess what is your expectation for both his short-term and long-term future? Like the idea of, are you betting right now that he's starting week 1? Are you betting that he's this team's starting center in 4 or 5 years? Let's say 4 years, because that's the end of his rookie deal.
Right. So I would be I've got 2 trains of thought going on here, because it's very easy right after the draft to just slot draft picks into starting roles.
Absolutely.
And here's what I would say. The Chiefs signed Austin Blythe to 1 year, maybe average starter, but kind of almost more like a rotational or backup money.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Austin Blythe has been starting in the NFL for 3 straight years.
Yep.
And it is not that easy to replace a consistently average NFL starter. And when I call Austin Blythe that's not a shot. That is a compliment. It is hard to be consistently average as an NFL lineman. Usually guys vacillate back and forth between playing a little above average or a little below average, and they're not super consistent. Or they go way above average, way below average, like snap by snap, and you have no idea what you might get. That's stressful, especially for a quarterback. So I think Humphrey has a position here, and this is one reason why, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, why I love what the Chiefs have done this offseason so much, is they are not counting on Creed Humphrey to start this season. I think they want him to. I'm guessing he'll get every chance to compete for it. But if he doesn't, it's not a disaster because they've got an average lineman in place. And so if he does start, it's the roller coaster theory. He is taller. He is able to do it better. It's not by default. But I think he'll have his work cut out for him because average starters don't go down easy at the NFL level. And Austin Blythe has been playing for a while. So I think Humphrey will get the nod. But I do think people are underestimating the fight that a decent NFL veteran is going to put up at the position. One thing that Creed has going for him here is they're both new. So
that's a good point, yeah.
So it's
not really an incumbent like it even would have been if Ryder was still in Kansas City.
Exactly. That would I think in some ways, even though I think Blythe is a slightly better player than Ryder, I think it would have been a little harder to unseat Ryder.
Yeah, I agree on both those things. I think that's a great point.
And I was due. So but Blythe is one player that, because I've seen a lot of people like, Blythe is probably off the roster. I don't see that. I mean, he is the one guy on the roster that has proven he can play decently as an NFL center. Mm-hmm. I don't think you just cut that guy. Even if Humphrey wins the spot, I think you keep Blythe around because guess what? He started at guard the 2 previous years. He's a guy can transition seamlessly across the interior of the offensive line, and not everyone can do that.
Not everyone can do that, but 57 players on the Chiefs' 90-man roster can because they have all of the world's guards. Let's talk about the line a little bit in that regard before we get to Bolton. We'll save that for last. But obviously, with Humphrey, it's yet another element. Obviously, Orlando Brown is the left tackle. Joe Thuney is the left guard. But with and those guys are going to start by, presumed merit. Everybody else, it lines right up with what you just said about, hey, there are going to be these battles. I think at least, quick math, at least 6 guys and maybe really 7 or 8 guys, I think, could end up with a starting spot on the line that would not surprise me, not even counting Brown or Thuney. I may have overshot it by a little bit there, thinking off the top of my head. But not only have they completely overhauled the very tippy top of the roster, they have also gotten even deeper than a line that, as we talked about before, I think got a significant amount of overhate for not being deep enough because once it was absolutely decimated by the Super Bowl, it didn't look very deep because it wasn't because everyone was hurt.
Right. Well, and I had so many people would ask me this offseason, is like, do you think the Chiefs will work on getting better offensive line depth? They didn't have good depth last year. And my answer to that was always, good depth is being able to replace 1 or 2 offensive linemen without a disaster at the NFL level. And you and I have talked about this before. Most NFL teams don't have 5 offensive linemen they're comfortable with. To have 6 or 7, that's good depth. Yep. The Chiefs were at 9, 10, 11. It's just... It was an impossible situation. So I'm looking at the numbers here because they clearly want to work on depth too. And so if you've got guys that you assume make the roster, it becomes a dogfight for the final few spots because for sure that Brown, Thuney, and I'm gonna say let's assume there's no season-ending injuries for anyone. Okay. Which is a big assumption, of course. Sure. Especially because you've got some guys, Kyle Long has been injury prone. We'll see if I think taking a year off is huge, and he seems stoked to be back. And I think he's got as good a chance as anyone of staying healthy. But it's an example of how hard it is to stay healthy at the NFL level.
For sure.
But so if no one goes down to a season-ending injury, I would assume that Brown, Thuney, Humphrey, Long, Niang, Remmers, and Blythe at the very least, very, very, very least, make the roster.
Mm-hmm.
That's 7 guys just right out of the gate where there's virtually no doubt. And you notice I didn't say LDT there. To me, I think he's pretty much a lock because it doesn't benefit them to cut him this year.
Like at all, yeah.
Like, even if they designated a post-June 1st cut, they just break even on it.
Yeah.
And that's a guy with multiple years starter experience, it'd be weird to cut him for no benefit.
He also already has future dead money. I'm looking at over the cap right now because I'm trying to string all this back out in a way that I can remember. But he's essentially got a void year for $2 million in 2022 already. So you don't want to move that money down the line as long as you think he can literally still play football. And I imagine that they will think that he can.
Right. And that's, they probably will. But, I mean, so, like, with LDT, I assume he makes the roster because it doesn't make a ton of sense to cut him. The only scenario in which it does make sense to cut him, though, like, let's say, maybe it makes sense to trade him. I'm not sure how well that would go over because the reality is he is a guy that's done some pretty awesome things. At the same time, you and I both know that doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
At the NFL, it's a business.
There's also a chance that he would opt out again.
Yeah.
Because that's not officially an option yet, but it's something that a couple days ago they were kind of working on trying to make sure that players could choose to opt out again if they wanted to. And if he still thinks there's like medical work to be done, which there is, and there always will be in some regard, but he could opt out again and it could move his contract down the line another year. And I'm not even sure that would necessarily be a bad thing if he wanted to come back in 22. I mean, it's because of how many guys they have right now.
Well, because you got guys that are in the final year of their contract are on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
But if you add LDT to that group that you're pretty sure are making it, now you've got 8 guys. And Trey Smith is a draft pick that you can't put on the practice squad. So maybe you could mystery IR him.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, let's say he plays well. I mean, the odds of him being cut are not terrific. Kavari Russell aside from a few years ago, draft picks generally make the roster for 1 year at least. And Trey Smith was highly touted enough that I think if they put on the practice squad, I think they'd lose him. So, I mean, you're talking potentially 9 guys that you're fairly sure are going to make the roster. And that leaves guys out in the cold. Wiley has multiple starts under his belt. Allegretti has multiple starts under his belt. Rankin has some starts under his belt. And then you've got young guys that a lot of the fan base was clamoring for last year because of the way the situation got in Durant and Williams. And there's just not going to be room for all those guys. Maybe they carry 10, but that's going to be a pretty brutal battle to make those that 1 or 2 bottom spots.
And Wiley and Allegretti, not that this means a whole lot in this moment, it's just kind of a funny thing to think about, started the Super Bowl. They both started the Super Bowl, and they're not even really it doesn't feel like they're in contention for starting spots right now. They're fighting for roster spots. It's crazy. I think it was Brandon Thorne that had tweeted out that list of guys, and that I quote tweeted saying, like, I think he rightfully here is not including those names, even though, and this is one thing that several people have suggested maybe Wiley being traded for a low pick somewhere would make sense for everybody, because I think it very well could. But the one thing there is, God forbid Orlando Brown would get hurt. I don't know what happens at left tackle.
Yes, that's a great point, and that might be why you see them keep 10 guys, and keep multiple guards, because maybe they weren't kidding when they said, Tooney can play left tackle.
Yeah,
because maybe he's the backup plan there. Because when I look at the rest of the roster, I'd rather Tooney be there than anyone else that they currently have on the roster.
Yeah.
So unless Fisher's rehab goes really well, but if it goes really well, I assume he's going to want to go somewhere he can start.
He might be a Bronco at that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, oh gosh, that'd be kind of gross to watch.
It would be very gross, but selfishly, it was the first thing. It was like the first thing I thought of whenever I saw the Broncos news today. So that's
So there's a couple things there though, like thinking about what a massive just issue it's going to be trying to figure out who's what, and like the right guard and right tackle positions are going to be really interesting, because I think Niang is probably the guy I would very lightly pencil in. But Remmers is in a similar position to Blythe, and I don't think he goes down easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be that easy to beat him out for the spot. Like, I think Niang will have to be demonstratively better. Or demonstratively equivalent, which is not easy at the right tackle spot with Remmers. And so then in the meantime, you've got, everyone and their dog has reminded me that Kyle Long has experience playing right tackle. I don't think that's the plan.
Yeah.
But, let's say Kyle Long comes in and plays amazing, in training camp. And Niang and Remmers they're okay, but not quite what they wanted. There's just a lot of options here. And the funny thing is there's a bunch of options here that I'm good with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said this on Times Ours, but I really think I could build a competent starting offensive line minus left tackle out of the Chiefs' second stringers.
Yeah, I think you could. And there would be a lot of questions there.
Sure.
But you'd be like, okay, I don't think they're going to kill you. Like, they're not going to be a strength of your team. But they're not going to kill you. And that's just, you can tell, you can see the plan they had. But, I'm most thrilled. If Humphrey is what I think he could be, and you never know again, but, like, if he can step in and play like the way Morse did his first year, that center to left guard to left tackle is really good. And, you never know. Long could go a lot of different ways. It could be nothing. He could end up struggling with injury, or maybe, just a year off, kicking off a lot of rust, playing a little more at a backup level, whatever. Or he could play like an all-pro. And wouldn't that be hilarious?
Yes. I would not hate it.
You are 3 long shot, but not super long shot outcomes. Like Niang or Remmers being a competent right tackle wouldn't be that's not really a long shot. Getting it between one of the two of them, that's like a coin flip, I'd say, because, right tackle play can vary. But, like, let's say, if Humphrey and Long work out the way they're hoping, all they need is adequate right tackle play to have an awesome offensive line. And that's cool.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's very exciting. I think the implications of that could be spectacular. Although our friend Matt Derrick reminded me last night of the fact that the way this all backfires is if that encourages them to run the football more often. I'm cool if they run the ball better. Matt said they want to run the ball better. That's great. I don't want them to run the ball more often, though. That's a distinction that I'm going to try to make as much as I can.
Absolutely. And that's a great distinction to make. And the only scenario in which they should be running the ball more is because they can run the ball better against obvious running situations. Okay, they're backing up their linebackers at the snap and there's only 3 guys on the line. Fine, we'll run it for 8 yards a carry until you knock it off.
And then Jerick McKinnon will become a conversation topic again, and we'll have just a whole backfield. I do kind of like Jerick McKinnon, by the way. I really don't want to actually spend any time on that, but I kind of like Jerick McKinnon. I think it'll be fun. All right, so we just spent an entire radio segment talking about the entire Chiefs draft class, except for their number 1 pick. We'll talk about Nick Bolton on the other side of a commercial break. A second segment with Seth Keysor of the Chief of the North newsletter whenever we come back.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Kansas City, this is Nate Bucati, announcer for Sporting KC. I'm teaming up with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City to recognize administrators, teachers, and students who make our community a better place to live, work, and play. Each Blue KC Sporting Samaritan will be recognized at a Sporting KC home match, receive tickets to the match, Sporting KC merchandise, and more. To learn more about the program and nominate your Blue KC Sporting Samaritan, just go to sportingkc.com/Blue KC.
Don't be that guy this summer. The guy with the T-shirt on in the pool. You could still be slimmer for this summer since it only takes 40 days to lose 20 to 40 plus pounds with NJ Diet. NJ Diet's contractually guaranteed program starts with bioenergetically personalized supplements based on your hair, saliva, and blood work. Then, NJ Diet uses DNA testing to create your ideal diet plan and workout regimen to help you keep it off for the rest of your life. Not sure if you can do it alone? NJ Diet is with you every step of the way. You're fully monitored by their certified staff to make sure you're burning fat and not just losing water. You'll also get the doctor's personal email and phone number. It's all natural. No shots, no hormones, and no surgery. With offices close by in Overland Park or available from home with live online video consultations. Visit njdiet.com or call 855-5NJ-DIET. Go to njdiet.com and lose the weight for good. That's njdiet.com.
No one outfits golfers better than Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been fitting golfers since 1968. Utilizing cutting-edge fitting technology, we'll analyze your swing and our Foresight launch monitors and fit you with the perfect club, pair of shoes, the latest golf apparel, golf balls, bags, and more. So come by today for your complete custom fitting. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Pain creeps up on you. It starts with slight discomfort and inflammation. You wait for it to go away, but it gets worse and worse. Now, it never stops and the pain has zapped your mobility. You're out of options except for surgery. Stop right there. You have another choice for relief. That's QC Kinetics. This is Stephen St. John. The medical professionals at QC Kinetics help jumpstart the healing process without surgery or drugs. They use powerful, non-invasive regenerative cell treatments so the body heals itself. Patients who thought they'd never see an end to the pain are telling everyone they know about their astonishing recoveries. Maybe you strained a muscle lifting something, twisted a knee or ankle exercising, or just over time, you've noticed joint aches and pains. You need to check out QC Kinetics Regenerative Cell Solutions that go to work relieving that pain with treatments right in the office. Call today for your free consultation at QC Kinetics, right off 435 and State Line, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299.
A KC tradition since 1957 and voted the best steak in Kansas City, Hereford House is a locally owned steakhouse that has served generations of Kansas Cityans. Hereford House exclusively serves certified Hereford beef. All their steaks are aged 21 days, hand-cut daily, and grilled over an open charcoal flame. Go to HerefordHouse.com for hours, new menu items, and to make your reservations. Follow Hereford House on Facebook and Instagram for exclusive specials. Hereford House, voted Kansas City's favorite steakhouse.
Dear Mainland, aloha. My brother and I hear about this wave that you do when you go to sporting events. All the standing and sitting seems kind of repetitive, yeah? We believe we have a better option. You do the big wave. Stand up, go to the fridge, and pour yourself an icy cold big wave from Kona Brewing. It's less of a cheer and more of a cheers. Good one, brother. One life, right?
Mahalo for drinking responsibly. Copyright 2021 Kona Brewing Company.
It's Mr. Truck KC, Tim Grunny Grunhard. Everybody knows I love trucks. Right now, I'm helping my friends at Roberts Robinson by personally delivering a vehicle every month to one lucky customer. Buy from Roberts Robinson, and you can get me, Grunny, to deliver a vehicle to your house with a surprise gift. There's a reason why customers say, just make it easy. Check out the Shop Click Drive to shop online. It's easy. 1. Select that vehicle. 2. Create your deal. 3. Schedule your delivery. Boom, it's there. The Certified Service Department is open for appointments and offering first responder discounts for firefighters, police, EMTs, 911 dispatchers, and healthcare professionals. Roberts Robinson wants to buy your used car. If you're looking to trade in that used car, let us give you top dollar trade-in value. So Mr. Truck says, come see why they make it easy. Call 816-630-3151 or go online at robertsrobinson.com. Chevrolet, find new roads.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey. And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Building a pool is not a job for amateurs. If you want a pool you'll enjoy for a lifetime, call the pros at Pro Built Pool and Patio. Pro Built Pool and Patio is the largest provider of fiberglass pools in the region. Unlike liners, fiberglass pools from Imagine Pools and Pentair Pool Equipment are built to last, and they have over 200 different design options to fit your space. Pro Built Pool and Patio offers competitive pricing, financing, and the fastest install timelines. Get a free quote by calling 816-786-3893 or go to ProBuiltPatio.com.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Sean Smith is arrested for felony assault for beating his sister's boyfriend.
With Joshua Brisco.
And men across America go, oh.
Yeah! On ESPN Kansas City.
segment and a post-draft show with our friend Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, and the Times-Ours podcast. If you want to subscribe to the newsletter, go to bit.ly/SethHatesMoney, and you can subscribe there for just $12 a year, which is absolutely ridiculous for the value that you're giving Seth. And obviously, there's already a Nick Bolton film review there, locked and loaded, ready to go. We've held him back a little bit here, and I feel like we may share a bit of a similar reservation, because I'm not trying to be like a hater, but I'll tell you this. I meant to say this to you on Times Ours, and I didn't, and then I said I was going to save it for the show, because I don't know if this has ever happened. Usually, whenever I go to a film review in the Chief in the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com, bit.ly/SethReallyHatesMoney, straight for the $12 a year deal. Usually whenever I go there for a review on a player that maybe I'm either lukewarm on or genuinely just kind of don't really have an opinion on at the time, I usually leave the article feeling a little better, or like I've found something that I'm optimistic about, you know? I think the Nick Bolton film review might be the first time that you've done a film review and I've left feeling worse about the player.
Uh-oh. I felt like I was very complimentary.
I think you were very fair. So talk to me about Nick Bolton.
Sure. So with Nick Bolton, and with, again, all the usual caveats that these are rookie players, these are projections. What I was fascinated by watching him play is trying to figure out what role the Chiefs want for him. Because you would think, and we talked about this on Times Ours a little, that if they were going to be going for a linebacker in the second round, that they might be looking for another one kind of in the same ilk as Willie Gay Jr., like a kind of a freakish athlete type dude. Mm-hmm. Whereas Bolton is much more of an Anthony Hitchens. And that's, honestly, I think if you were going to do a pro comp, and that's not an insult to Bolton. I know Hitchens takes a lot of grief from the fan base. I don't think he's been as bad as people think. Mm-hmm. And I also think he's been put in kind of a tough spot. But what I see with Bolton, at least on college film, which is a little different because we'll see what he looks like among pros, he looks like a Anthony Hitchens with more lateral agility and more burst. Now, if that's how he works out as a pro, that's a good player. Mm-hmm. But it's a fascinating kind of player for them to look at. I know Brett Veach said that he could play well, so they clearly think that he can do stuff in coverage. And I'm a little tentative with the Chiefs' opinions on guys that can play stuff in coverage because they thought Hitchens could. And Hitchens can to an extent, but he's limited, right? You can only do certain things. Whereas with Bolton, maybe they think they can expand that a little more. I don't know. He's a guy, he's at his best downhill by far. He does have a little bit of sideline-to-sideline speed, not like Willie Gay does. But you see him pop off. Any game you watch, you notice Nick Bolton. Mm-hmm. He arrives a little heavier, hits a little harder, is around the ball a little more often. He's a good college football player. The question is, do those athletic limitations that showed up really strong in his testing, to where he tested as a below-average athlete, mm-hmm. Is he one of those guys that just is naturally more athletic in pads? Or maybe a better way of saying it is, he's just as athletic in pads as he is in shorts. Mm-hmm. While everyone else loses 10%.
Right.
And that equals the playing field. Is he that guy? Because those guys exist. They absolutely exist. It's just more the exception than the rule. And that's where it seems to me like they've got a role in mind for him. He looks to me like an eventual Mike linebacker for the Chiefs, taking over the role that Anthony Hitchens currently plays. And then whether or not he's an upgrade there is a question that you really won't know till you see him on the field with pros and see if his speed does still look a little bit faster than other guys. Mm-hmm. Because it does look, he looks like a pretty fast linebacker when you watch the games, and then you see his testing and you feel like you're being gaslit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't make sense. So there's a lot of questions there with him. I think he's a good player, and some guys are just good at football.
Yep.
And there's no explanation sometimes. And it's not like he's a god-awful athlete, but he tested as a below-average athlete, and that's tough to do at the next level. You got to be really good at everything else. So we'll see.
Your dismount there was almost exactly verbatim what I was going to say. Like I have no doubt in my mind that he is a good football player and a good linebacker, and is probably what most people think of whenever they think about a linebacker, just from, let's say the last 10 years of football. I just don't, stop me if you've heard me say this one before, but it's kind of a weird place for this team to spend their most valuable draft asset. And
that doesn't sound familiar.
No, it doesn't. I know. I'm really reaching for some new takes here. And I don't even think that necessarily should matter for anyone's evaluation of the football player, which is going to be the thing that I'm going to keep telling all the Mizzou fans that are getting increasingly angry at me. I just am not 100% sure that I understand the logic through and through, especially with the fact that I think Anthony Hitchens' best year with the Chiefs game last year. It's not like he had just had his worst season in Kansas City. I think he probably just had his best season in Kansas City. And he's still pricey, and they overpaid to bring him to Kansas City to do the thing that he's done in the middle of the defense. And having that on a rookie value is valuable, and it's something that we talked about around here for the month leading up to the draft, especially after trading for Orlando Brown. They need to set themselves up with really good football players on cheap contracts for several years into the future. But, I'll give it to you the way that I mentioned on Times Ours here. Like, if you would have given me the chance to have De'Ami Brown and Damian Wilson, or even De'Ami Brown and Nick Neiman, a guy who I think fits the profile of what I would be looking for in terms of like a value dice roll on a linebacker, an athlete who can cover but isn't really a thumper. You give me that world, or you give me Demarcus Robinson and Nick Bolton, or even Cornell Powell and Nick Bolton. I would rather have what's through door number one there. I'd rather have Damian Wilson back or Nick Neiman and take a gamble at the linebacker spot and go for the talent at receiver. And I'm gonna have a very hard time sort of separating the draft selection from the player, I think. Again, stop me if you've heard that one before.
It doesn't sound familiar. I just appreciate your bravery to bring in brand new takes time after time. No, it's a relevant question worth asking, because it's like, well, if we're not really upgrading, what are we doing? I think I see a path here. I think I would have a separate issue than the one you have. And again, it's a weird analysis to make, because it has nothing to do with disliking the player or thinking, I think he's going to be a good player. And so it becomes a value question, and then, well, what if you're more sure Nick will be a good player? Like, how does that account in? Why am I calling all players by their first names today? I don't know what my deal is.
Creed is good, because I think everyone subconsciously wants to call him Creed Humphreys, and I'm sure I've done that by accident at this point. And so I think Creed is the one that just sort of set us up for that.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I like that. And it carries no blame on me, so I'll accept it. I think the thing with Bolton, my issue here is that if they're right about him, at least, and again, this is my sense of what they're looking for. They're looking for a guy who can play Mike, who can also play Will, but then, can eventually be a cheaper, better Anthony Hitchens. And I like Anthony Hitchens. But, the cost is high for Hitchens' level of play. And that's just, one of those things you got to take into account when you have a relatively top-heavy roster. You really need those top-heavy guys, generally speaking. You can't miss too much. At least, you can a little, but, you can't miss on too many. Every roster can handle one or two big money misses. You start doing more than that, that's tough. Yeah. And if you know that you're going to be top-heavy, like, hey, we're going to be paying Orlando Brown. Hey, we're going to be extending Tyreek Hill. These types of things. The salary cap, as much as you and I joke around and call it fake, it does have some effect. It's not literally fake. It's just much easier to manipulate. But even that has its limits, and it affects your flexibility. So I think the plan that they have here is, move forward, let him do something that's already being done, but maybe at a higher level, maybe more what they envisioned a couple of years ago, and then also get that for a cheaper price. And if that does happen, it's a smart move, and it works out great, and it can have a domino effect on the rest of the roster. It's just seems to be pegging a lot of hopes on one very specific turn of events, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think it's very interesting. There are several other offshoots of this conversation that I imagine we'll be able to have next week. We absolutely have to go right now. But even though Beards is in here, even now Rudy is getting nervous about how much time we've taken up here so far. So we'll wrap it up there. I've got a lot more that I think will be very interesting in terms of what they do in the linebacker positions this year. But that's something that we can talk about next week. Seth, thank you as always. If you want to read the Bolton and Humphrey film reviews, you can do it at mnchiefsfan.substack.com. It's also all over Seth's Twitter page at RealMNChiefsFan. Seth, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I can't wait till the day we create a bit that says Seth really, really, really hates money.
It's Seth Keysor of the Chief of the North newsletter, The Athletic, the Times Ours podcast, and this has been Almost Entirely Sports. We're out of time. Back tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Until then, bye, Mom.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hi there, Gary Joslin, the owner of Joslin's Jewelry. For the last 38 years, I personally have been trying to be the best jeweler in the Kansas City area. The finest diamonds, the best customer relationship. Go online and check our website out. That's joslinsjewelry.com. Our family loves us. You're not a friend of our family. You are our family when you come in Joslin's Jewelry. If you need help with a piece of jewelry, Joslin's Jewelry is one of the most recommended jewelry stores in town. Hundreds and hundreds of recommendations from all these people for all these years. Joslin's Jewelry, the jewelers you'll recommend to your friends too. Thanks for coming and seeing Joslin's. 95th in Antioch, 435 in Antioch. Go north 1 mile, you can't miss us. We're the jeweler you'll love to go back to. That's joslinsjewelry.com.
Hey folks, it's Lebo here for CertaPro Painters, my favorite painting company. I've been working with them for years, inside our home and outside. They always nail it, perfect every time. Now why is that? Well, each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so they really care about our community. Your satisfaction is important to them. You can start the process of getting a bid right now by logging on to CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. You can schedule a free estimate and check out all the services CertaPro Painters has to offer. Spring is here, so it's definitely time to get on their exterior painting schedule. We just got through a winter with plenty of snow and those extremely cold temps. Weather like that can take a toll on your paint, especially around your windows. You've got to protect what's likely your biggest investment, your home. CertaPro Painters can help you with that, just like they did with me. My exterior still looks great years after CertaPro painted it. But they don't just paint homes, they can help you with your business as well. It's CertaPro Painters. Schedule your free estimate at CertaPro.com right now. That's Certa with a C.
You're still running your business on QuickBooks? QuickBooks? More like quicksand. The bigger your company grows, the faster you sync with outdated software that just can't keep up. You don't have time to spend dealing with manual processes, multiple systems, delays, and scrambling to get the numbers you need. It's time to get on solid ground. NetSuite by Oracle, the scalable solution to run all of your key back office operations, no matter how big your company grows. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need to grow all in one place. NetSuite helps you automate your key business processes and close your books in a fraction of the time. Think days, not weeks. In fact, 93% of surveyed organizations increased their visibility and control over their business since making the switch from QuickBooks to NetSuite. Right now, NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program only for those ready to graduate from QuickBooks. Head to netsuite.com/radar. That's special financing for you graduates at netsuite.com/radar.
The Force will be with you, always.
May the Force be with you.
Hey, Luke.
May the Force be with you.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
May the Force be with you.
Imperial or Rebel, Jedi or Sith. Happy Star Wars Day from Sports Radio 810, WHB.
My boyfriend proposed with his grandmother's ring. It's stunning, but I just wasn't sure what wedding band would work with it. So we went to Shane Company to look at their huge selection. We knew we'd have a ton of options. The jewelry consultant helping us had a lot of great suggestions.